Good evening, Carmen. How are you? Happy New Year. Oh, you're not. You're muted.
Oh, no, I say I'm having my. Hold on. I need to get off one. Okay. I had to log into like 1,000 little things. I'm trying to rename myself.
Yeah, I'm doing it for you now.
Okay. You gonna do it or?
Gotcha.
Great. Thank you.
I'm not gonna be joined by video tonight, just audio. So I'm here.
Okay. I actually don't know if we're gonna have an actual meeting because did you hear? I didn't get a response from Diana.
No, she didn't send any further updates to the office as well.
Mm. So I don't know. I see. Hey, Paco, Valerie.
Hello, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everybody. I hope your holidays were great. And the 2022 has gotten off to a good start thus far. I was just saying, I didn't get any confirmation response to emails from Diana. So I'm
I feel like
waiting.
that happens a lot with the DOT. We're supposed to come, and things happen, I know, but it's frustrating, of course.
Well, it's a few things that we're still waiting for responses, but when I didn't receive confirmation about the meeting, I emailed her and said, please confirm your attendance or provide update on the issues that we discussed at the last meeting. And she hasn't responded. I know they got a new commission and the whole works, but.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a ripple effect across that everyone's position is changing or.
Yeah, well, you know, this time of the year with a new administration, all of the agency are up in arms because they don't know who they're going to get as commissioner, what's going to happen with their immediate supervisors, where they're going to wind up. But she sent information earlier, which is why I was surprised that she had not, you know, she said, I think I emailed everybody something about art for those protected bike.
Yeah. They've been doing that program for many years now. I remember
yeah.
It was like 2008 or 9 or something when it started.
Yeah. So since she said that, I said, okay, well, she didn't respond, but she sent something. But I was waiting for update on the items, all the items that were left open at our last meeting. I know that Dante had asked for a list of all of the speed hump requests and status, and he was asked to submit a FOIL request. I was like, whoa, since when we gotta submit, since when the board have to submit FOIL requests?
Something suspicious if we have to submit FOIL requests for basic basic stuff.
Guess what the turnaround date was estimated?
I don't even want to know.
June 2022. Which was like, okay, I thought that FOIL will have like a 10-day or 14-day something, but I think we got a case number, a DOT number, and it says expect response by June 2022. I was like, interesting, because normally we just ask and they send us a list.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still don't see anybody from DOT on. Let's see, we get more members. But
Hi, good evening. Hello. Something's going on with my computer.
that you,
So I'm
Valerie?
Right, but I'm coming up on the
DJ
phone.
Wills?
Right. So
Okay.
that's what's going on with me.
Okay. Well, we all had computer. I tell you, I had to log on my phone and then go back, and then it took me to something else, and then it brought me back.
Okay. So I just want to let you know who VJ Wills is.
All right. So, I don't know if you heard me. I was briefing everyone that I have not heard from. So waiting to see what's gonna happen here with our update.
Uh-oh, you want to clear the room, Paco? Start coughing and clear your throat, okay?
I already had it. I just,
Really?
I spent, yeah. I don't know how I'm double vaxxed and boosted, but breakthrough case spent Christmas through New Year, just through the other day. My whole family. Knock on wood, we're okay now. But
it don't matter. They saying everybody's gonna get this Omicron. They say it's everybody.
Yeah. Speak for yourself.
Gonna get it.
I went nowhere. I don't know how it happened, but you know, always wearing a mask. But yeah, it's around. Knock on wood for us. I don't think it was any more severe than like just a very bad flu. Especially because I have a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old, so we were most worried about them. But kids are strong and they bounce back quicker than I did. But
wow.
But yeah, okay. I hope no one else gets it, but it sounds like it's going around. So
well, actually, you know, they're saying that because some people that do have it think that they just have a cold, because those are basically identical. Omicron apparently has identical symptoms to a cold. So if you don't go get tested and you think you just got a cold, you go to work or you go whatever, and you're shopping and hanging out. So that's how it's being transmitted. A lot of people walking around with it don't know they have it, and that's why you see 1,000 people online every day.
That's the thing about asymptomatic.
The symptoms are so familiar to a slight cold. And now they're talking about what is it, the Flurona?
Yeah.
Flurona now is a combination of COVID and the flu. It's like hurricanes. His names come out of nowhere.
Oh my goodness.
When you get to know one, you get introduced to the other. All right. I think we're being stood up. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? Happy New Year.
We're just shooting the breeze, waiting to see.
Well, maybe for next meeting, we should plan to spend some time on putting together a list for DOT of what we want. If they're not going to show up, we might as well use our time for something.
Well, Paco actually sent a great list of items which we were supposed to get feedback on, as well as some stuff that Dante sent on. So this whole meeting was about us being able to get feedback on those issues. And I also was looking for some explanation
Yeah,
of some of these speed hump denials.
right.
Um,
They never
Just that-
met with me about Ocean Avenue, which they said they would do all summer. So that's on my list still.
Right. And I know it's very confusing because Jefferson Avenue have an approval and then they got a denial and then they got an approval and then they got a denial. Then they went up with a speed camera.
Wow.
So if you putting a speed camera on a block, then obviously the speeding is proven speeding there because those cameras don't pop up anywhere for no reason. Lincoln Road, the new complaint, what I noticed they actually did was they didn't do anything on it. They just put it down as a duplicate of the previous request and therefore automatically denied it without taking into consideration the recent accidents or anything like that, which is totally ridiculous. Because
I saw another accident this week, or
Yeah,
another
but-
crash this
Yeah.
week on my block on Lincoln, the exact same thing. And it was a hit and run too. Like I tried chasing after just to get a plate, but
Well, I mean, to me,
but-
it's confusing because Lincoln, I know there's speed bump from Rogers to Washington. There are speed humps.
Hmm.
And if I'm not mistaken, there's speed humps between Nostrand and New York.
yeah, but my block, from Nostrand to Rogers, is perhaps the one block without any speed humps. And I think because Rogers is so wide, and knowing some of the homes on my block, some of them like have souped up cars that rev the engines and enjoy the speeding, it seems, and they congregate for it. So I think knowing that Rogers is wide, they could zip down. They could come from Nostrand, zip down Lincoln, and then zip back up Rogers without ever touching any of those surrounding speed humps. So there are times I've seen the same car or the same group of cars just kind of doing a donut, if you will, around the whole
Wow.
block, and there's nothing to
Yeah,
stop them. Like enforcement's not going to catch it or anything. We need a design that limits the ability of them to do that.
but my whole thing is I don't understand how they can identify one block in a strip of a street as not being eligible and all of the other surrounding blocks leading up to that block have speed hump. So you can't say it's an emergency vehicle route because the street goes all the way from Renson
Yeah.
down to Washington, and there are speed humps. So it's very aggravating. It's very confusing. Same thing on Lefferts. You got speed hump on Lefferts. They stop at Rogers.
Right.
And then, no, they stop at Bedford because there are speed hump on Rogers, between Rogers and Bedford. And then they refuse to install it on between Bedford and Washington. It's like, what's
And
the
they wouldn't do
rationale behind
Lefferts
that?
either, which was, it's so wide and it's so dangerous.
Well, those are the things that I wanted to,
Yeah.
and then we were supposed to get an update on the markings on Washington Avenue, not with the school being there. She was looking into that situation. So I don't know.
On Lefferts and Rogers, I think maybe the day we were supposed to have the last meeting or around then, there was another crash. It was like a 6-car wreck that I saw. I took some photos, but at the corner of Rogers and Lefferts, because
Really?
both of those are wide. Yeah, I felt bad. I don't know who was hurt. I hope nobody, but it looked pretty bad. And I saw people just coming out to look at their cars. All of the cars were sandwiched that you had to probably get the trucks to pull them apart. There was one of those Revel bikes that was on the hood of one car and in the rear of another car. It was pretty gruesome. We've got a lot of speeding around us, unfortunately.
I mean, I know recently there was a crash on Washington like right by the Planet Fitness, because one of my neighbor's car got hit there. Somebody told me they were working out and they heard this big bang. When they looked down, it was a car that had rammed into like 3 cars. And then I found out from one of my neighbors that one of my neighbors' cars was actually there. Hi, Liz Jackson, just jump in. We just shooting the breeze.
Hi, thank you. Happy holidays and happy new year to everyone. I live on Lefferts, and since they put that speed, like you said, the speed pole that takes all the pictures of people speeding,
Right.
I realize it has really decreased the level of speeding right on this block between Washington and Bedford, because they would speed like in the middle of the night sometimes. And I've actually seen some people that decide to turn around, and maybe that's why they're going on Sterling or the Washington right behind Planet Fitness having accidents, because they don't want any cameras taking pictures of them. But I am glad that they put that camera up. It flashes through the night taking pictures, and it really has decreased the level of speeding. It would be nice if they do the speed humps as well, but at least it's progress.
That's
Yeah.
Lefferts between Washington and Bedford, you said?
Yes, yes, it is.
Oh, okay, that's great.
Because
Yeah.
a lot
I
of
hadn't
people
noticed that.
speed and like they stop right in front of the apartment buildings across from us. And especially around 2 and 3 in the morning, it's awful. It used to be worse, but now it's
Yeah.
much better. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
much
well,
better.
when people see a camera, they
Yeah,
normally put on the brakes real quick.
Yes, they do. They turn around, they make a U-turn, because I'm in the middle of the block. So I see when they turn around to go back over to Washington. And throughout the night, it used to be horrible, but now it's calmed down a lot. It really did make
Oh.
a difference. It
We
really
really
did.
need that on Ocean. It's gotten to the point where 2 and 3 cars go through every red light in both directions.
Oh my
It's-
goodness.
It's almost impossible to cross.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had that multiple problems here. This looks like a lot of people seem to come off of Flatbush and just like they said, they shoot down to Nostrand from
yeah.
through here, like Ubers, taxis, you name it. And since the apartment building across the way has a lot of people, they'll double park, and it's really crazy. But I'm glad they put up that to slow them down, because after seeing this, I think he was like just driving to drop off something, on the little Segway. He was trying to drop off some food. And after seeing him hit, it was horrifying. And you're like, something has to be done. And then like, as soon as, I don't know what, but they put that up and it really did help. I don't see as many people speeding. You can feel safe crossing on Bedford and not feel as if you have to run across the street literally, because people don't want to stop and they look like they're rushing you to get across when you're in the crosswalk trying to go across. Like you're actually inconveniencing them and you're in the crosswalk, so it's horrible, but it's gotten better. It's
But
gotten much better.
It's so bizarre that they would never approve a speed bump.
Well, they
But then they put in the
did.
camera. Do they have
They
different
approved
criteria?
it and then reneged.
Right, I know.
They approved it and claimed that the only thing they needed was a letter from the board.
Right.
And then they turn around and say it's denied. So it's like, okay, it's a approval, it's a deny, because the 2013 letter that was sent by Claudette, the deputy board president, said that it has been approved. The only thing that they were waiting for was a letter from CB9, an endorsement letter, which at one time was needed. Now they don't even care about what the board has to say. They
Right.
just do whatever they want to do. And then when we inquire, it's like, well, are you really just waiting for a letter from the board? Because you get a letter
Right.
from the board, then the next thing you know is a letter saying, oh, the study revealed that it's not needed, so therefore it's denied. Like, how can you renege
Yeah.
Yeah.
on an
that's true.
approval of a speed hump? And I know that the people on, I believe it's Union Street, had dealt with that same situation for years,
Yeah, that's
where
right.
they would
Somebody came and
deny
talked.
it, they will approve it, they will deny it, and they say, oh, they haven't installed it because they haven't received the letter from the board. Then the board send the letter and it's still going back and forth. So
The criteria are a
it's crazy.
mystery.
Yeah, it's just totally totally crazy. I mean, I saw where one of the residents on Lefferts has submitted a proposal for discretionary funding for the speed hump on Lefferts and I think Maple and some other streets. So I will encourage everyone to support it and pass it around to your neighbors. And perhaps when the new council person takes office, well, she already took office, but they take office January 1st, that they will make that a priority for funding for those
I know,
streets.
Rita Joseph is participating in the participatory budgeting
Mhm.
program, and I noticed on the proposals list, someone had said speed humps on I don't know, X street, and all of the comments were in total support, adding
Yeah.
their own block too.
Right.
It seems like, I know sometimes people don't like the sound of the car making the thud and stuff, but I find in general, people are rather supportive of speed humps, and everyone seems to notice speeding. Certainly, I mean, we're CB9, but at least in the Prospect Lefferts Gardens kind of confines, that I wonder, would it be useful if our board almost did like a blanket letter to the Councilwoman Joseph and DOT saying, we want them across the board, put them everywhere that you can, rather than doing my block, then this block, then the approval, then disapproval. Because it just eats up so much time. I'm curious if you think that might be a way to move things faster.
Hey,
right.
listen, this is really the time to get creative because there is a new DOT commissioner, Idanis Rodriguez, who's supposed to be very transportation friendly. I don't know whether Keith Bray is going to keep his position or whether, he's going to bring on others as part of his administration. But, I would say this is the time for us to revisit everything that's been denied and everything that has gotten a thumbs down and plead to new ears. Somebody that may be more sympathetic to the traffic situation. So yeah, we should definitely work with the board and have them do such a thing, and have Rita Joseph and Crystal Hudson and all of those other representatives that think Darlene Mealy is also is back. So they all have a piece of CV9. Well, Darlene has a little piece, and but Crystal and and Rita Joseph have the bulk of it. So yeah, that's something that we will definitely work on with Dante to get that out and look at all the records, all of the things that we have pending and resubmit it for review by fresh eyes. So I mean, I'm optimistic. I'm hoping that transportation would be more constituent friendly. But I think we might have upset them when we beat them over the head over the Washington. Valerie, where's Felice? So they might say, we ain't dealing with you guys anymore. I don't know.
Because they don't look at what they were doing, because with their last meeting, their proposal of that strip on Washington Avenue, they hadn't even reached out to the vested parties, the parties that would be impacted, the schools right there. So, the guy was like, oh yeah, I lived in Brooklyn. Well, if you lived in Brooklyn, you would have known that there were schools there. So you should have taken that into consideration when you made those proposals. So it's, one thing to say I live in Brooklyn, but do you live in that particular area? Because I think a lot of times things are happening. And I think I'm going to just loosely say good intentions of trying to reduce hazards in the streets and to make streets safer. But some of the things that they are doing, don't always result in that reduction of accidents. Because I think we're still having accidents, we're still having issues, we're still, and I gotta say, with the speed humps versus the speed bumps that we had before, on my block, depending on the weight of the car, they just zip right over that little thing and they keep going. Whereas the bigger trucks, the heavier vehicles, they, intentionally slow down, when it's coming across that. But, I try to keep quiet, even though I'm on the transportation committee, because I don't want the bicycle people to get mad at me, because I feel like they have to look at, they have to look at all the things that are happening, because I feel that our city is so liberal by having every type of vehicle have access to the street. And not just the bicycles versus the cars. You've got, because I'm looking at Ubers and Grubhub people and all that other stuff that are introducing more cars and more vehicles. And it's not just, the passenger like me who owns a car that's going from one destination to the other. This is some people's livelihoods, even though they're making a pittance, they're not making any real money. They are doing this. And they're trying to make some ends meet, we'll say. So as the pandemic has transferred the type of business and how we work to more vehicles, you got the Revels, you got the scooters, you got this, you got that, and the other, but we still only have the same amount of roads. I don't know how many miles of roads we have, but we still have that same amount of roads. It's not like we're having extra roads to introduce extra type of vehicles, and not just bicycles, and not just, because they have those the motorcycles and the kids with the dirt bikes. So you got a lot of moving parts out there that I don't think that we're really looking and taking into consideration when they do a lot of markings in the street, because they've marked up Eastern Parkway quite a bit, keep changing the configuration, and you sway
all the time.
Come on.
They lay down dividers and then tear them up. Lay them down again. They tear them up.
So I try not to say much, because these individuals that are in these positions allegedly have all this knowledge on how to do this lay of the land, I'll say. But it's not resulting in less accidents. It's not resulting in the bicyclist getting hit. It's not resulting in the pedestrian getting hit. There's still things that are happening, and it's not just the cars that are hitting, it's other things as well, and I'm still a proponent of, I know the bicycle folk and the scooter people are not gonna like this, but I'm still, didn't we used to have license back in the day? You had a little license that you paid for. You're riding your bicycle back in the day. You had to put a little bicycle license on there.
Yeah.
But you might shake your head, but I'm thinking for certain markings in the street, when we make new bicycle lanes, we make this, we make that, where does the money come from? Who pays into that pot? I was trying to do my research, but they were saying something about the drivers, part of their fees and license and stuff goes to all these extra things. And I can't confirm or deny that. That's something someone told me. I said, well, I don't know. I can't say that, because they were, fussing about all different things that are happening. And so I said, I really don't know that. But I feel like everybody should pay a little bit towards the pot. If I have to have a license for my vehicle, then I think the bicyclist should have maybe a $10, $15 to help to defer the cost for some of these improvements. And that's my story.
I hear you. But
So,
I mean, with me, the biggest issue with me is all of these reconstruction projects and all of these street redesign. They seem to create more chaos than what they were meant to alleviate. And because of the fact that the community's input, I don't believe that is really, really taken into consideration or even sought after. They come before the board because they have to, but they don't even have to accept your resolutions, your comments, your recommendation. And I go back to Parkside, where you have all of these emergency vehicles that now have to go through the park to escape the traffic, the bottlenecks and the traffic mayhem that they face on Parkside Avenue when they transporting patients, sometimes a matter of life and death. 2 minutes in traffic can cost somebody their life. And I don't believe that those are things that were actually taken into consideration as part of their studies. They say they do this, they study this and they study that, and they look at this data and they look at that data. And it's like, well, if you do, then how can you conclude with the conclusion that you then came up with? When you have some roads that are indeed emergency routes, and emergency routes should not be messed with at all.
Right.
So I don't understand.
I just want to state for the record something that might be shocking to some members of this committee, which is a vote of support for DOT. And it's not because I disagree with much of what is being said, because there's no question that they've made mistakes. I think one of the most famous mistakes was what they did at the corner of Empire, Flatbush, and Ocean, where they built an island and had to remove it. Some people may or may not remember that little triangle that was a complete disaster. Interestingly enough, that is also the location for one of their greatest victories, that I think it would be a good idea for this board to sometimes put a little honey in the vinegar when we meet with them, because like it was said a few minutes ago, and nobody knows for sure why they're not here, but they probably get tired of being beat up, right? So the victory I'm talking about is the massive neck down curb extension that was placed at the corner of Flatbush, where Flatbush and Ocean begin, which used to be a gentle, soft curve that would allow for cars to come southbound on Flatbush, coming from Grand Army Plaza, and turn right onto Ocean Avenue and do so at speeds approaching 30 and 40 miles an hour. Not only was that ridiculous, the distance from the corner where the trees are, where the parking lot for transit is, across to Prospect Park, was a good 20 feet to 30 feet greater than it currently is. So anybody, and there were people at the last meeting that were poo-pooing the safety or the efficacy of neck downs. I sometimes believe that those are people who do not drive, who do not walk, who have no idea as to the theory behind why those things work. You're making a vehicle make a turn, navigate a turn at a 90-degree angle. I don't care how reckless you are, you cannot do it at high speed. And that's the basic sound theory behind why a neck down at the corner of Washington and whatever the corner is that police felt it was ineffective. I completely disagree. I know that a neck down, right. I know for a fact that DOT is 100% correct. The next thing, and as much as I was against getting rid of the shutting down of Franklin Avenue at the corner, what they're doing in front of Clara Barton High School will also be more effective. And I wish that they had used some of that creativity to address the problem that existed here at the corner. Because what they're proposing to do up there, yeah, it's gonna slow traffic down. But that triangle there poses a ridiculous hazard to people crossing to school. Then you have the inexplainable head-on collision where people can make, when they're headed south on Washington, and you can make that left turn that looks right into traffic. It just, the whole thing is from another time. It's another era, and it does need to be changed. So I didn't find much fault with what they're proposing to do there. Is it going to cause some backup? it can't be worse than what's going on now. I sometimes have to drive up Washington Avenue during rush hour. I just allot a good 15 minutes just to get from Empire to Eastern Parkway. You know, it's what they're doing is not going to make it any worse. I don't see it being any worse. I agree with Carmen. I agree with the rest of this board that Parkside is probably one of their bad ideas, right? And that needs to be revisited, right? The whole thing with the impact on emergency vehicles should be deemed unacceptable, and they need to figure out something else. The 800-pound gorilla in the room is the solution that nobody wants to hear, right? The reason that's like that is because they preserved parking. If they pulled a move like what they did on the Upper West Side, where they took 40 blocks from 59th Street up to 110th Street, parking completely gone. I work up there sometimes. It is an absolute nightmare. If they did something like that over there, that would solve your problem. So once again, we could say how horrible they are, but somebody fought to preserve parking, and it could be the reason why somebody might not make it to the hospital in time. I drive and I love parking, but I know that that's what the problem is on Parkside. So be careful what you ask for. They might say, you know what, we got a solution. Then all of a sudden there'll be 10 blocks of parking gone, and we'll be going further down that rabbit hole.
Thank you, Jeff. Now I need to call Diane and say, see what you missed, babe. But they gotta watch this tape.
Is it possible for us to get any data on emergency time response changes for vehicles that travel on Parkside? Because I've walked it a lot recently, and I've driven it and I've biked it, and it visually definitely looks more congested to me. But I mean, I've also been able to see emergency vehicles when the sirens were going still pass. Sometimes they go into the opposing,
Right.
So it doesn't look
onto
different
the
to
other
me.
side of the lane. So
They have to
I'd
do
be
that.
curious to hear from FDNY or NYPD or something, because you know, any of us can have an anecdotal perception. Sometimes it's very accurate to the data. Sometimes it was an odd timing. So I don't know if we could get that number.
Yeah, we can probably get that information from FDNY and even from the hospital that have their own ambulance services that use that route, and see you know, compare it to the previous times. Yeah, something to look into, definitely.
And I assume they could all, if it's wide enough, the ambulance could use the bike lane, right?
Well, I don't.
that would be
The
tough.
bike lane.
I'm glad that came from a biker.
But
Well,
The
they
bike
didn't
lane
take away.
they're not that wide, because I mean, I made a point of driving through there when people started complaining, and to see for myself, and I was like, oh, you know, because before, you know, you were able to swerve and go this way, and if somebody was waiting to make a left turn, you could have gone around them, and now you just stuck.
You're stuck.
You know, there's no
But they
place for
didn't
you
take
to
away a
go,
lane,
because
correct?
the parking lane is in the middle of the road now, and the bike is protected by the parking lane.
Right.
So, you know, and it's not that wide, and there's not
But they-
even any room for you to maneuver other than to wait. So it's my understanding that what emergency vehicles find themselves doing now is entering the park right there on Parkside at the corner there, and just using the park to get to the hospital.
Which is
So
not,
I'm not seeing that. And
Well,
I'm in the park.
that's what someone that actually wanted to write a letter, they wanted to do a newspaper article on the situation, and they actually spoke to Yako about it, and said that in interviewing some of the drivers, apparently that's what they've been told by some of the drivers, that when they know that they're going to wind up getting stuck, they're using the park.
Yeah,
I
you
commend
know
them.
that I would notice that because they make me crazy. And I definitely see them in there, but I don't see an increase since they added the bike lane. And I
Yeah.
don't see, again, anecdotal, I don't see a change in the traffic on Parkside. I thought it was very congested before and it's congested now. I don't know
Well,
how far it backs up. Maybe it backs up further. That I
no,
can't tell.
Stanley, it is different. It is different.
Yeah,
But the,
I mean, it's
it's the-
different because even, have you guys seen how they also changed the entrance when you try to get to Fort Hamilton Parkway?
yeah, they
Mhm.
redid the
Yeah,
circle.
yeah.
Like the whole
Mhm.
thing has got, I try to go down there for the
Smaller.
first time. I was like, whoa, what in the world? If
Yeah,
you're
the
not
circle
on
is
that,
different.
if you're not on that left, that right lane, you might as well just keep going on Coney Island because you're not making it. You have to
Correct.
be on.
One
on
of the
that
other
exit.
things, though, you have to, if you're trying to get a sense of what's happened, you can't go at any time of day. There are times of day where to traverse from Parkside and Ocean to Parkside and Coney Island Avenue is about the same as it always was. But if you go at peak rush hour,
Mhm.
it's 10 times worse. And if those are the times that the ambulance drivers, the fire department has deemed it acceptable to tell the drivers to go through the park, I think it's a life-saving move. It's an executive decision that I think any manager who's responsible should make. Why shouldn't you use that if you know that you have a patient that needs to get to the hospital in a timely fashion?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm
Well, I
glad
can
that the
also
park
tell
is
you
an
that
option.
I never felt safe
the park to traffic.
riding on Parkside, and now I do.
Oh yeah,
So
it's definitely better. I mean, I never felt safe riding on Flatbush, except for the fact that
Right.
now that bike path is also being used by motorized bicycles and
Yeah.
scooters that are doing 30 miles an hour.
and there are trucks and cars parked in the buffer
Yeah.
in both cases, in Parkside and Flatbush.
It's a step in the right direction, but
Yeah.
it's still,
Warren? Are you coming in defense of cyclists, Warren? Are you muted, Warren?
He's probably in another
As
meeting.
usual, they mute me. Hi, everybody. I'm Warren. I'm on the community board. I'm also an avid bicyclist. In terms of Parkside, there is definitely more traffic. And that's from my point of view. But in the interim, we do need places for cyclists to ride. In terms of the ambulances, I work until about 2:30, and then I try to go to the park and I sit on the right below the Lincoln Road entrance. And I have not seen an increase in ambulances, but I do believe in the other person who was saying if they need it, let's do it. I mean, the reality is that we need to provide a safe way for our emergency vehicles to get through. But I haven't seen, I'm not sitting there and I sit there for an hour because I need to decompress. I'm not seeing 10 ambulances go by. I saw the first one the other day and I assumed it was from the park. But I think we should take all this input and, get it to the powers that be. So if we have these issues, and this is not just DOT, these are other facilities, other emergency operations. So let's get those documented and follow it through. But I do agree that number one, Parkside in terms of traffic is more. On the other hand, I do think it's better for the bikers. So I don't know. I just live here. Thank you.
Thank you, Warren. I was waiting to see when you was going to speak on behalf of the cyclists.
No, but the whole thing is that it's a balance. And I can tell you from the cyclist point of view that it's at certain times on certain roads it's dangerous and other times it's great. So what we need to do is find a balance between the two. So thank you, Carmen.
Well, the road belongs to all of us. Motorists, cyclists, pedestrians. We all have to cross it at one point or another. So we just have to look for creative way where everybody can be not 100% happy, but at least 60%.
Which is an American way.
Speaking on Parkside, I also want to just mention for pedestrians, with all the changes that Carmen and Jeff mentioned at the circle, I know they've ripped up a lot of the sidewalk right by that circle at the western edge, I guess, of Parkside. But it has been essentially terrible for pedestrians for like a month and a half now or more, because they have still not poured concrete, and I'm often pushing a stroller over there, and it forces the mix of runners and pedestrians and some of the motorized scooters, all that sort of stuff. I think if we're talking to DOT about this, we should also tell them it's very irresponsible to just rip up the sidewalk and then not re-pour it for, I guess, going on 6+ weeks now.
Is DOT redoing the sidewalk, or is there some kind of other project going on around there?
I think DOT is redoing the sidewalk. But they ripped it up before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other infrastructure change there. It's just sidewalk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Alright.
it's very hard with the stroller, because I have to then, because the Parkside has the concrete, there's grass and the concrete, then more grass, and then it's that cobblestoney, very uneven.
Yeah.
So
Right.
like as soon as I get the baby napping, I'm then bumping it in a stroller to get into the bike lane, which I shouldn't be walking in as a pedestrian. And there's the scooters and everything. It's like if they just poured the concrete, there'd be a
Okay.
sidewalk for pedestrians. So I imagine anyone in a wheelchair literally cannot use that.
Right. All right, we'll have to look into that.
Hey,
Yeah.
it's
But
Warren.
sometimes, with the concrete, the pouring of the concrete and the replacement, it seems like it's not a collaborative effort, because it's a separate person altogether that's doing the masonry work. So it seems like a lot of times they don't have them coordinated at the same time, and it's just like hanging out there. So time will pass. One would think that, I know some projects don't stop at a certain time, but sometimes there's like a little gap or a hiccup and stuff where the contractor for the cement work doesn't come back in the appropriate time.
Yeah, but from Thanksgiving, that's quite a long time. I mean,
It is a long time.
Yeah, that's a long time. That's kind of strange.
It
But
is.
we'll definitely look into it. As a matter of fact, the board, if it's some kind of DOT, Mia, the board should have gotten some kind of notice. And in those notice, I believe the contractor's information.
What's the
It's,
location of the project?
Sidewalk reconstruction on Parkside
Yeah,
I'll check the
alongside the
email.
park.
At Park Circle.
Park Circle.
Park Circle.
Yeah, Park
I'll check
Circle.
the email.
Yeah, because that's strange. That's a long
Hey,
time.
everybody, it's Warren. I just want to point out that this is not in our district. We end at, I believe, Washington or Ocean Avenue. And what we're all talking about has an effect on our residents, and we should certainly pursue it. But I think it's very important that we contact the community board that is in the district, because they're the ones who have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand what you're saying, Warren, but the whole thing is that our constituents are being affected. So we can work in partnership with, I think that's board, was that over there 14 or is it 14?
Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah, that's
Right.
14.
Because as you know, it's like Eastern Parkway. One side of Eastern Parkway is 8 and the other side is 9, but it affects us all. Because, when you walk down Eastern Parkway, you don't say, oh, I'm only walking down CB9's area. I'm not crossing the other side. So,
My point is that I agree with you,
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to point out is we need to coordinate with the
Mhm.
community board that's actually there. And that's who we'll listen to.
Yep. I hear you.
Thank you.
For sure. Thank you. All right. Any other comments? Any other items for discussion, since it's just us? But this is good. We get to air out our concerns. Mr. Albert, welcome. Is there anything you wish
Hi,
to share
Carmen.
with us? Hi.
Sure. Just wanted to share that I definitely agree that there needs to be a balanced approach. I was on the committee meetings last year. Definitely agree that there needs to be a balanced approach for bicyclists and also for people who drive vehicles, and definitely believe that DOT and other decision makers should definitely give the community boards and the residents enough advance notice before they implement things and before they make changes, and definitely include them in the planning process, particularly in instances where it causes heavy traffic. As discussed before, there are many times where they say, oh, it's not going to affect traffic, it's not going to impact traffic, but us who live in the community, we know better. So definitely think there needs to be a balanced approach, and definitely think things shouldn't just be imposed and forced on us. It should be a collaborative process.
Yeah. Well, let me just say one of the things that I think really happens, because I know that I had the opportunity to go to a couple of meetings when they were doing the Flatbush Avenue project with the protected bike lane and the sidewalks and all that stuff. And normally what happens is that they start a project, they have meetings, they get input, they do all these studies, and they go silent. They go silent for 3, 4, 5 years. And then all of a sudden, boom, the project starts. And within that time, things have changed. So I think that they need to revisit all of the projects that are pending based on how long they've been pending and how the community has changed. And I think that's the problem. Just like when we were talking about the Washington Avenue reconstruction project, they're talking about data from 2014, 2018. And it's like, man, you know how much has happened since then? The construction project, the amount of vehicle, the amount of people that have moved into, how the population has changed. And I just think that that's the situation with Parkside and everything else. Because right now we still have the Ocean Avenue project that's supposed to be a Parks Department project. And those conversations were started at the same time as the Flatbush Avenue project. The Flatbush Avenue project is finished. They have not even had any further discussion on Ocean Avenue. And then one day we're gonna wake up and we're gonna find out that they started to tear up Ocean Avenue and the project started. And there has not been no new data, no new study, no new conversation with the community, no new anything. And I think it's that gap in between the time that they introduce these projects and when they actually begins this project, and not being able to revisit all of the data that they already have in hand, to see how this, how the community has changed, how things are no longer the same. So what could have worked then is not going to work now. It's not necessarily going to work now. So, we'll see. But
And maybe this could be what, taking off of what Jeff is saying, that we beat them up 5 years ago, they went silent, then they continued on what they wanted to do. So now the project has begun and things have changed. The demographics have changed. The needs of the community have changed. But I guess because I don't want to say that we beat them up so bad, but we've gave them a little extra food for thought that they weren't considering. And then I guess they have a timeline too, that they have X amount of timeline to do certain things. They got to spend certain money during certain times. Because I don't know if in the government, if you don't spend the money by such time, it goes back in the pot and you have to forget about that project and, this, that, and the other. So maybe that's why they go silent, because they said, if we go silent, don't say anything. But in the background, they're continuing to move forward so that they can work on other projects, maybe. And I guess they might not want to listen to our type of conversation, our, I don't know, cheerful comments that we may have concerning the outcome of the project.
Yes, okay, Valerie. Sure. So I'll
The
guess
Ocean
Matt.
Avenue,
Can
sorry.
we get an introduction from Matt and some comment?
Hey everyone, first time joining, really interesting and lively discussion, so thank you all. I like a lot of the points have been raised. We live on Lefferts just outside of Flatbush, so this is all super relevant. And
Okay.
yeah, excited to see what's next.
All right, so anything you wish to share with us about your idea about all these construction projects, all of these need for calming, traffic calming, improvement, and you on Lefferts by were you between Bedford and Washington?
We're on Lefferts between Washington and Bedford. No, today I was mostly here to listen. I thought that was very productive. I will say I was one of the individuals who put in a request to look a little bit more closely at potential speed reduction technology on our block, because I think a lot of what I've heard about people driving pretty quickly is, there's a lot of kids in our building, there's a lot of kids on this block, and I see people, they get up a pretty good head of steam going away from the park. And I do sometimes get concerned that it's a little bit of a drag race, but yeah, sounds like everyone here is really on top of it. So excited to learn more.
Oh, great. Well, welcome, and make sure you come back again. Thank you. Anything else? Suman, you've been quiet tonight.
Yeah, I'm here. Just listening to discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Where's Calista?
Huh?
Is she still on the group?
Calista?
Yes.
Yeah, she's actually down. She's not feeling well. She's ailing. She sent me an email.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the time of year where, people go down for the count for a minute. She'll be good. Keep her in prayers, her and her family.
Okay, very good, very good. Thank you for letting us know.
I
And
see
so
Felice didn't join us today, so we miss her.
Yes, we do, because we have to go on our walks and stuff, because I think our walks are very important so that we can see, exactly what's going on, so that we can take pictures, make real comments about, what's happening, so that it's based on current data and current things that are happening. Because, a lot of times, you see things out of your window, but you're only looking out your window for a certain period of time. And Liz, I think we need to find something for you to do, because you said you were watching this traffic at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, speed down your block. We might have to find something for you to do there now. But the walks, I think, are very helpful, so that we can really see and walk and talk and come up with some maybe recommendations of how we can improve the traffic, how the bicyclists, the Uber drivers, the pedestrians, the motorcyclists, that we all can somehow coexist on our streets.
Yeah, I know we've been talking about the walk, but gotta make a point of making sure that we do it in the spring. Nah, you ain't gonna get me to walk right here in the car. I don't like to walk. But the spring, I'm down for a nice little walk on the spring. So we will have to make sure that we schedule it for the spring. To do the walk. We can recruit Liz and Matt and all the other constituent community residents that's been coming to our meeting, so they can give us some feedback. But yeah, definitely. But, well, I guess being that it's just us, we can definitely, and Parco, I've been trying to find all of those numbers that we got, all of those DOT numbers for Brooklyn Avenue. Because I know that I couldn't find this, but I still have to keep searching for it. Because remember, they had given us all these different DOT numbers for the different intersections, and the study for the crosswalks and all that other stuff.
I'll
So
check
if
my
you,
email if I can find some.
if you check your
as well.
emails going back, and you find something, forward it to me, because I do need to follow up to see, because we never got any further feedback about those crosswalks.
I think last it had just said it was like being studied, but that was
Right, but
early
that was like over
2020 or
about 3 years
2019.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was looking to follow up, and I was like, I can't find those that email with all those numbers. So if you do, just forward it to me so that we can do proper follow up with that. Okay.
Will do.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Well, you all have a great evening. This was fantastic. Thank you so much for coming. And hopefully at our next meeting, we will have some real feedback from DOT. I will pursue the matter with Diana, and also try to find somebody that was actively involved in the Parkside project to come and speak to us. I will reach out to transportation at the community board, our partner community board, and see what they've been, if they have been taking up this issue and what exactly they've been doing. And we might have, maybe we'll do a joint meeting or something about that.
That's a good
All
idea.
right. So thank you so much. You'll have a good night. Stay safe, stay warm. I understand we have snow heading this way, so get yourself ready for it.
Mhm.
So good night, everybody. Thank you
Take
for
care.
coming.
Thank you, everyone. Happy New Year, all.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Good night.
Yeah, Happy
everyone.
New Year to everyone. Thank you to our visitors. Please come back.
Night.
Good night.